Scripture tells us that the sin of hate and the sin of murder are the same thing. And you see this parallel happening in the life of Haman that we find him in the book of Esther, the enemy of God. And he had this hatred in his heart for Mordecai. And now, with a suggestion from his wife that he build these gallows 50 cubits high and hang Mordecai on it after he got permission from King Ahasuerus. Well, it turns out that Haman and King Ahasuerus goes to Esther's banquet that she had invited him to. This is kind of a light banquet, just refreshments, wine, and that type of thing. And the king says to Esther, once again, he says, "What is your petition? What can I do for you? I will do whatever you ask, up to half of my kingdom." And she said, "If it please the king, would you come tomorrow afternoon to a banquet that I will prepare for you, a full banquet, and you bring Haman with you?" And so the king said, "Absolutely, we'll be there." So they go on their way. And Haman, he's busy now preparing his gallows, and he's got to get permission still from the king. And so this is all in the works. But that night, King Ahasuerus couldn't sleep. And he's awake and he's restless. And so he sends for his servants. He says, "Go and get all of the records and all of the journals and bring them and just read them to me." So through the night, they're reading these things to him. They come to a particular entry into the journal where there was a man by the name of Mordecai, who, as I said, a man who always had his ear to the ground, had heard about a plot of some of King Ahasuerus' servants that were going to assassinate him. Mordecai, he exposed it to the authorities. It was dealt with, and it was written in the journal. But King Ahasuerus never knew anything about it. So now he's hearing them read this to him for the first time. And he says, "Well, what was done for this man who did such a thing?" And they said, "Well, nothing." And so, well, something's got to be done. We got to honor this man. About that time, there was a disturbance or a noise out in the courtyard. And the king says, "Who is out in the courtyard?" And they looked out and they said, "It's Haman." Because you see, Haman had come to the palace early that morning because he wanted to talk to the king about hanging Mordecai on those gallows. So the king brings him in. He says, "Look, if there was somebody that the king wanted to honor, what would he do? What would you say they do?" And of course, Haman, he had his man put him on the king's horse, put him in king's raiment, get a high official to lead that horse through the city, saying, "This is the man whom King Ahasuerus chooses the honor." And King Ahasuerus, "That's a great plan." He said, "Haman, you go get Mordecai the Jew, and you put him on my horse, and you put him in my raiment, and you lead him through the city." Haman was mortified. I mean, so upset. But he had to do it, and he did do it. Oh, but his anger, it intensified. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.